Hello, I'm Ralf Vandam, and I have been working for the project since 2010. I'm one of the few archaeologists of the project who has nothing to do with the city of Sagalassos, but I work more on the countryside of Sagalassos. I'm currently a postdoctoral researcher of the Research Foundations Flanders, working for Sagalassos on marginal landscapes. In addition, I'm also part-time lecturing Eastern Mediterranean Anatolia for the Free University of Brussels. My research interests are landscape archaeology, spatial analysis, human environment interaction, and of course, the archaeology of Anatolia. A very stereotypical image of an archaeologist is, of course, the archaeologist who is excavating very carefully with a toothbrush or with a trowel. But what most people don't realize is that there is archaeology all around them, in the landscape and even on the surface. For instance, we can find ancient walls, even Roman walls or Ottoman walls, but they are remains of fortifications or housing remains. But they're still there because they're never torn down or reused or buried. On the surface we can find lithics, ceramics, metal artifacts, and even, if you're lucky, coins. They're there because of the natural and human processes. For me, it was not a surprise that we find our oldest human artifacts, and the Levallois mid-Paleolithic artifacts, which are about 120,000 years old, in a heavily eroded landscape, where a gully system have cut into the landscape 6-7 meters deep and been washing out those artifacts. On the other hand, our area, and especially the Burdur Plain, is very fertile, which is of course interesting for the farmers, and they've been plowing their lands for many years, and these activities have brought the material to the surface again. And all of this we can study. For us, archaeology, the main and primary methodology to do that is archaeological surface surveying, where a small group of archaeologists try to document all the archaeology on the surface, with the main aim to document the human activity. This can be the occupation history up to the agricultural and production areas or strategies. So it can be very broad. In Sagalassos, we have a very long history of doing that type of research. From the beginning, the beginning of the project, we are doing that kind of research, where we first did more an extensive survey, where a small group of archaeologists drove to different villages and asked the elderly people if they knew where there was some archaeology. Through this way, we got in a quick way, a very good idea of the local archaeology. And based on these results, we started to do a more in-depth and detailed surveying research, where we start to do field walking in a very limited area, but in a high resolution, where we divided the entire landscape in grids, which we survey then and document and collect all the archaeological remains that are there. In addition to archaeological surface surveying, we also do geophysical surveys, which is a methodology that's based on geophysical sensing techniques, like, for instance, magnetism. In archaeology, this is used to document and map subsurface anomalies, which is, of course, very interesting for us because we don't have to excavate at the site, and we get a lot of information from it.